Hey everyone, Delta Force has now released on console, and with it brings a ton of brand new players to this fun free-to-play game. I've been getting a lot of questions from new players specifically about the extraction mode, or otherwise known as the operations mode, so I wanted to make a video of 10 tips for new Delta Force players. Big thank you to Delta Force for sponsoring today's video. I've got a link in the description below if you want to check out the game. It's free to play on Xbox, PlayStation, and PC. So let's dive right into it, and I've got around 800 hours in the game, and I've really only ever played the operations mode. And with that, my first tip that I'm going to give you is to learn the map Zero Dam in and out. In the beginning, it's going to be the most played map that you do, and is typically going to be your go-to map for making money, which I will cover later in the video. Start by running Zero Dam on easy mode until you hit level 12, which will allow you to play on normal difficulty, which has a lot better loot, by the way, but also more dangerous players. When learning Zero Dam, focus on learning every little detail about all of the major points of interest and everything in between. Understanding angles and sight lines can make a big difference in PvP fights. Also, learn the audio. The more you play, the faster you're going to pick up on audio cues. Things like unsuppressed rifle gunshots and exactly where those shots are coming from when you heard them. AI aggro and things like the Rocketeer and when they fire off a round, exactly where that came from. Or just movement sounds in general from the AI. And also the sounds of all the other operator abilities triggering as well. Those are just some examples, but the more that you play, the more it's going to become second nature and will help with faster decision making. Now, another major aspect of Zero Dam you need to learn is the location of every single lootable object on the map. That includes all basic lootable objects, along with every single bird's nest and sewer manhole as well. Regardless if you are playing on easy or normal, you can find red loot, which can potentially sell for millions. Yes, there is a greater chance of finding reds on normal, but finding reds on easy still happens quite a lot, and they can be found in any container on the map. So learn every single location of every lootable object. One helpful way to learn every location is to use an interactive map while you're playing as you're learning the map. I'll have a link to this specific one in the description below. The next big thing to understand is ammo wins fights. Ammo rarity makes a huge difference when fighting other players, but purple and gold bullets can cost a huge amount of money. It really all comes down to how much you are willing to risk on the price of your loadout and ammo, which is half the fun in my opinion. When you go in kitted like a super soldier, you're going to have an advantage, but the intensity will be ramped up because you can still get killed if you make a mistake or something goes wrong in the fight. If you're running high rarity ammo, one strategy is to keep the excess stacks of ammo in your safe container as to limit the damage if you do in fact get killed. Also, if you're playing on easy Zero Dam, the ammo rarity cap is blue ammo and the armor rarity cap is purple armor. So you may not experience the true value of high tier ammo until later. It's not going to feel like you're absolutely melting people, but at least you can get protected from getting rolled by players with gold ammo when you're running easy. So start out on easy mode. The next big question I get a lot is what do I keep and what do I sell as far as loot goes? So players can barter for gear or have the option to buy items directly from the auction. And I find that in most cases, the price of a piece of gear on the auction is virtually the same as the barter items, which makes holding on to those barter items really not worth it. Now, however, every week under the T&E tab, you will find limited barters for solid items, and these are definitely worth it. Always make sure that you are checking this tab and marking the items as favorites, so when you come across them in the raid, you don't forget to loot them. Other reasons to keep loot are for missions. Some missions require that the item be found in raid, which means that you can't just buy it off the auction house and turn it in. You have to actually find it in game. So keep an eye on those in your missions. Another thing worth noting is that if you find something rare you have been looking for, make sure that you put it in your safe container, of course, because it will not lose its found in raid status. Another laundry list of loot that you really need to keep an eye on is the black site. And the black site is an area in the menus that you can upgrade things like your stamina proficiency, stash size, and the ability to craft gear and ammo, which leads directly into the next tip, which is understanding the black site. You should always be looking to upgrade your black site, especially in the early game, because the cost of the items for upgrading won't be as high. the stash space and stamina alone are worth it. But the crafting is really where you can get some huge benefits. Once you get the workbench and the armor station to level 3, you're going to have full access to craft purple and gold ammo and armor. Not only are these very valuable for your own usage if you want to, but you can sell these items on the auction and make big money. Highly sought after ammo and armor can be sold for thousands more than the cost to make them, so you can really generate some serious passive daily income if you are constantly crafting. Just as an example, crafting purple M80 ammo, which is a 7.62 ammo, costs around 100 to 110,000 for the materials for 180 rounds. But those 180 rounds can then be sold on auction for 250,000. So you're gaining 140 net profit, which is huge. And there are a lot of items that yield a similar gain. So make sure that you're always using your black site to craft gear and ammo, whether it be for yourself or for making some money on the side. Which once again leads us into the next tip, which is getting good at the auction house is an absolute must in Delta Force. Understanding which items sell for higher prices than the vendor is going to make your decision making in raid a lot easier because you're going to quickly identify what's a high price item or not. Now, of course, you can just go by the loot rarity, and that's a really easy place to start. However, you can take things a step further if you want to. When you highlight an item in raid, it's going to tell you an estimated price. But the big ticket items, sometimes that price is just not up to date. I'm going to use this gold ring as an example. The highlight price shows that it's worth 131,000, and when you're in raid and you see it, it's going to tell you that that's probably the price. But it's actually selling for 314,000 on auction, which is obviously a lot more. So the best way to find out what's popping off and what's not is to right-click every single item that you've extracted in your inventory and then click sell. Once that happens, you're going to see a vendor price and an auction price. Typically, I'm just going to vendor everything unless I see a big difference in the auction price. One big moneymaker with the auction is gun parts. Do not sleep on these. Typically, all purple rarity gun parts sell incredibly well, and even some blue gun parts like long barrels or stocks, for example, can have huge auction prices as well. So more often than not, gun parts are selling more per square than the regular loot with the same rarity. Next tip for new players is the gear tickets. New players can utilize gear tickets to give them a free entry into a raid. There are green, blue, and purple gear tickets, which provide the player with a full kit to go in with for free. You can't adjust any of the kits though, however, but you are able to select from 3 different choices, and you can actually re-roll the kit if you don't like what you see there. Also keep in mind, you can put stuff in your safe container. So, for example, if you find a kit that you like, but the ammo isn't the rarity that you wanted, you can put your own upgraded ammo into your safe container and then add it to your pockets the moment you get into the raid. So, if you're a new player, it would be smart to use these gear tickets while you have them because you're always earning more of these gear tickets as you play the game day in and day out. Which once again leads us into the next tip, which is pay close attention to the events that are going on in the game. There are a crazy amount of events happening all of the time in this game, almost too many if you ask me, but these events will give you all kinds of rewards. Everything from gear tickets to cosmetics to item crates that have gear, loot, key cards. And these events can require you to do small challenges or just log in for rewards or currency exchanges where things that you find out on the map. But the big one for operations players is the limited time events that happen in game. For example, right now there is a key, the Saeed key, which is a one-time use red key card that will open any locked door, but can only be used in the raid when you find it. So this is a hugely lucrative event because every single time you find one of these, you can go to the best locked room on the map and get in for free. Anyway, there are a lot of these events that are going on all the time and they cycle in and out. So you have to keep an eye on them in the events tab, stay on top of it, and you're gonna get some solid loot. The next tip is make sure that you are doing your missions. From the very start, you should be focusing on your missions. Missions are located in the departments tab and are a very good source of XP as you progress to level 12. Level 12 is a big milestone because it means that you can run zero damn normal, which is significantly better in the loot department and obviously a lot more juiced players to kill as well. Also, once you unlock the seasonal missions, I would focus exclusively on those. The rewards are very, very good, and you'll gain free one-day pass access to the 3x3 safe container, which is really, really nice. If you complete all of the seasonal missions, then you will unlock a permanent 3x3 container for the remainder of the season. The console launch is happening mid-season, so it may be difficult to complete all of them this time around, but the gold and the red tier rewards are well worth it to dive right into this right away instead of waiting for the next season in like 30 days. The next big tip I've got for you, and this one's hugely important for new players, is finding an effective way to make money. My favorite way to make money is by doing budget runs. So I'm going to go over two main types of solo budget runs that I do that can yield millions in return. So the first one is a straight up solo knife run on Zero Damn Easy. You go in with Hack Claw, or really any operator for that matter, maybe a blue bag, some basic heals, 120 rounds of blue 9x19 AP rounds in your safe pocket. The first bot that you see, you're going to use your ability to kill it, take the gun, and then start your journey to slowly upgrade along the way. The moment you kill a bot that has a Bison or an Uzi, grab that and start using the blue 9x19 ammo that you brought in with you. It's going to make killing other players a lot easier if you run into them. That said, however, I do try to avoid contact with other players unless I feel like I'm going to get an easy pick or two. But you could play hyper aggressive and like run to admin if you wanted to. You're going to die a lot more, but the risk is pretty low, so it won't hit you too hard. If you do go for a more pacifist route and try to avoid enemy players, your sole goal is to loot absolutely every single object that you can before you extract. As I said earlier, finding reds on easy happens more than you might think, so the more objects that you can look at, the greater chance you have of finding one. My favorite is when I'm moving through a POI that's already been looted and I see an object that was missed by the enemy squad and there's a fat juicy red just chilling inside of it. So that's the knife run, but there is an even better budget run, and that has a much higher return if you can stay alive, and that is the solo Zero Damn normal run. The basic principles of this are the same as the knife run, but this time you must bring in a gear value of 112,500. So there's definitely more risk every time you run one of these, but the increased chance of purples, golds, and reds can yield some very big results. That extra risk is magnified, of course, because there is no gear cap on normal, so players are going to be more kitted, but play your cards right and you can come out on top big time, including with some gold gear if you kill some players. So what's the best loadout for the 112,500 minimum? Well, I run a budget run. I like to hit the gear value right on the number, just to minimize my risk and maximize my reward. There are two loadouts that I like. The first one is running the purple training helmet. This is going to give you the 150% hearing range, which is huge if you're trying to stay covert during your run, and then followed up by a purple bag. Now, this is just going to get you just above the gear value requirement for entry, and same with the previous knife run I explained. Kill the first bot that you see, grab a gun, their rig and armor, and off you go. Bots on normal difficulty typically always have guns with blue ammo in them, so you can bring in that spare blue 9x19 if you feel like you need it, but typically every bot that you kill with an Uzi or Bison is going to already have blue ammo in spare. The next budget build is to run the baseball cap, which is a white rarity thing. It's not going to give you any protection, but it is going to give you 110% hearing range, a purple bag, a blue rig, and a budget gun of your choice, really, with no attachments. This is for players that just want to make sure they have a gun in their hands at the start. One key point about Zero Damn Normal is that killing a shield bearer will almost always drop a purple armor, sometimes a gold actually. So don't ever forget to loot them near the start of your run or as a vest swap later if your current purple vest took some damage during the raid. Okay, my last tip is for you to do an Easter egg to unlock a free ammo crate. This is going to help a little bit with the early storage space problems that new players are going to have. Acquiring this ammo crate requires that you unlock 4 different rooms on Zero Damn and then 3 locked rooms on Lay Alley Grove, all in consecutive order. Now, this sounds daunting at first, but the nice thing about this is that each time you unlock one of the rooms, you can store the subsequent key card for the next locked room in your safe container. This means that the only time that you are really going to be at risk of losing all your progress is at the very end once you've unlocked the last room and grabbed the crate and are heading to your exfil. If you die at the very end, you can try again from the very first locked room on Zero Damn. Now, that's if you only have the 1x2 container. Now, if you have the 2x2 container or higher, you can literally just place that reward in your 2x2 and you aren't at risk at all. So I'm going to show you quickly how to do this. First, you're going to go to this door on the west side of Zero Dam on the easy difficulty. You can open the door in two ways. One is to listen for the Morse code beeping, which tells you the exact code. This is going to be a little bit hard for people at first, but once you get the hang of it, it's super easy. This is an identical code to the laptop codes that you put in, but in an audio version. So a quick beep is a dot and a long beep is a line. So follow the Morse code and you can plug in the number into the keypad. And also keep in mind, this will work on any door in the game that is giving out this Morse code audio. The second way to open the door is to look for the swords around the door. There will be 3 swords that point to a number. The first number will be the sword with a single dot underneath the base of the handle. The second number is a sword with 2 dots underneath the handle. And finally, the third sword is 3 dots under the handle. The swords point in the direction of the numbers. Grab the numbers and plug them in the proper order, and then you're open. Grab the key and put it in your safe container. The next locked room that we're going to go to is close by near the underground area just to the east. Hit this room and then head towards substation. Once you're in substation, head to this room and grab the next key. Then head towards the checkpoint and go down this ramp to the 4th door on Zero Dam. This is the final one. Take that key, as always, and put it into your safe container and then extract. Once you extract, you will now need to head to Lay Alley Grove, and of course you can be on easy as well. But before you do that, make sure that you move the key from your bag or rig and move it directly into your keychain. Otherwise, the game is not going to let you queue up the map. So this game does not allow you to bring keys in as loose loot. So move the key to your keychain, and then you're going to queue up Lay Alley Grove. Once you get into Lay Alley Grove, you're going to be starting on the east side of the map, and you're going to hit this room right here. Your next stop is near the center of the map, and it's just south of the train station. You're going to go down this ramp and look for the next door. Once again, as always, you are taking the subsequent key and putting it back into your safe pockets for safety. And then you're going to go to the final door, which is on the west side of the map in this field. You're going to head down the ramp, take a left, and you're going to see the final door. And inside of it, instead of a key, it's going to be a big old loot crate. Now, once again, you're going to grab this loot crate and you're going to put it into your safe box if you have a 2x2 or bigger. If you don't, this is that moment where you're going to be feeling some stress as you work your way towards the exfil. Once you're home, open up the reward box, and now you have a free ammo crate. To use the ammo crate, you do need to move it to an available crate spot on the left side of your stash. These are expansion slots. You're going to see a plus sign there if you have an open spot. Getting your stash to level 2 in the black site is going to unlock that first expansion slot for you. So that's it for my top 10 tips to help new operations players in Delta Force. If you made it this far and the video helped you out, a like would be super appreciated as always. And if you want to catch some more Delta Force content in the future, make sure to drop a sub, and I will catch you in the next one.